My beloved child, there is a stirring in the heavenly realms right now, and you can feel it in your spirit even if you cannot explain it. On this sacred day of December 15th, in the heart of Christmas month, something has been released over your life. Something rare, something weighty, something meant only for the one who was chosen to see this message. Archangel Michael steps forward even now, his sword blazing with holy light, whispering, "Pay attention, this is not happening by accident. You were not supposed to scroll here casually. You were summoned. As the veil between the natural and the divine becomes thin during this holy season, Jesus himself is trying to reach you. His voice has been echoing through signs, through dreams, through sudden moments of stillness, and this message is the final nudge he is sending before something shifts in the next 30 minutes of your life. Yes, 30 minutes. Archangel Michael emphasizes this timing with urgency, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. This is not a warning of danger. This is a revelation of destiny. There is something Jesus has been trying to place in your hands, a guidance, a correction, a breakthrough, a redirection. And for too long, the noise around you has drowned out his whisper. So today, on December 15th, he commanded his warrior, Michael, to part the spiritual clouds just long enough for you to hear this clearly. Michael says, "I have circled around this one 3 times, waiting for the moment they were ready to receive instruction. And now you are ready. But before this message continues, listen closely. Jesus chose you to see this now, not your family, not your friends, not the people around you. There is a reason you feel the weight of this more than anyone else. Something about your spirit has been marked since childhood, a sensitivity to the unseen, a calling you tried to ignore, a sense that you were meant for something more. This is that moment calling your name." Michael reveals that in the next 30 minutes, the atmosphere around you will shift. Some of you will feel sudden warmth on your shoulders. Some will feel an emotional release. Others will sense a deep silence rising inside your heart. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. Heaven is aligning with your timeline right now because Jesus does not want you to step into the coming days without clarity. This Christmas month is not just another season. It is a spiritual checkpoint, a recalibration, a divine reroute. And Michael is standing guard over this transition, ensuring that nothing interferes with what Jesus is sending. But hear this carefully. Michael says, "Do not speak of this prematurely. The message unfolding before you is not for everyone around you. When God is about to move in someone's life, he often requires silence first. Not secrecy out of fear, but silence out of protection. Some people around you cannot handle the weight of what God is about to reveal. Some would doubt it, and their doubt would weaken your confidence. So Michael tells you, don't tell anyone. Not yet. This is between you and heaven for now. In these next moments, something hidden inside you is going to awaken, a memory, a burden, a calling, or a vision that has been buried under responsibilities and disappointments. Jesus is touching that buried place gently, calling it back to life. And here is the part that many will overlook, but you won't, because you were chosen to hear this. The very thing you thought was delaying your life was actually protecting your life. The closed doors, the unanswered prayers, the long waits, Jesus was shielding you from paths that would have drained you dry. And now, he is about to unlock the right door at the right moment. That moment begins today. But stay with me here, because what comes next may be the most important part of this entire message. Something is going to align for you within the next 30 minutes, but if you walk away too soon, you will miss the clarity needed to recognize it when it comes. This message has layers. and Archangel Michael is only revealing them one veil at a time. Hold on, because the next unveiling will change everything. Before I continue, type "I open my spirit" in the comments if this message is speaking to your soul. Blessing code 144 is now released over you. And beloved, before you move, stay right here. This is where the revelation begins to unfold. My radiant soul, something is unfolding around you even now. Something you may not see with your eyes, but can feel stirring deep inside your spirit. The moment you stepped into this message, Archangel Michael shifted his position from watching to guiding. He is no longer standing at a distance. He has moved closer, standing directly beside you, guarding the atmosphere around your mind, because what Jesus is about to reveal next requires clarity, calmness, and a willingness to receive. This is why you felt a soft pull to keep listening. This is not ordinary. This is not random. This is divine orchestration for a chosen moment. Michael whispers, the next step begins within you before it happens around you. His words come like a gentle strike of light, awakening something that has been dormant for years. You have carried battles, disappointments, and silent wounds that you never spoke aloud. You have been strong for others while barely holding yourself together. You have smiled while carrying heaviness. You have encouraged others while secretly praying for a sign for yourself. And because of all this, heaven has been watching you with a different kind of attention. Christmas month carries a unique spiritual opening, and Jesus chose this exact day, December 15th, to reach into your life and redirect your steps before the upcoming season begins. You may wonder why the timing is so specific, why the message insists that something will happen within 30 minutes. It is because the spiritual realm functions through appointed moments, not random chance. There are windows when heaven moves closer, when angels stand ready, when breakthroughs become easier to release. Today is one of those windows. And Jesus does not want this one to close without touching you. He saw how close you came to giving up on something recently. He saw you questioning whether you misheard your purpose. He saw you wondering if you were forgotten. This message is his gentle yet firm reassurance. You were never forgotten. You were being positioned. Michael steps forward again, his presence steady and intentional. He says, you are stepping into a correction of path. A correction of path means that the direction you were heading in was not wrong, but the pace, the timing, or the people connected to it were misaligned. Jesus is adjusting your route the way a shepherd gently redirects a wandering sheep. Nothing harsh, nothing frightening. Just a loving hand guiding you back toward the place where your blessing is waiting. You may begin to notice small internal shifts as this message touches you. A sudden calmness, a strange release of pressure, a quiet awareness that something unseen is happening. These are signs that the spiritual adjustment has already begun. Archangel Michael is clearing interference from your atmosphere, voices of doubt, old fears, emotional heaviness, and spiritual noise that kept you from hearing Jesus clearly. He is cutting away confusion so that the next instruction does not get lost inside your thoughts. Listen closely to this revelation. The reason Jesus is reaching you in such an urgent and intimate way is because what is coming will require your spirit to be aligned, your heart to be open, and your faith to be awake. Not fearful awake. Something significant is preparing to enter your life. A message. An opportunity, a shift, a release. But Jesus does not want you to misinterpret it when it arrives. That is why he sent this spiritual interruption today. That is why you were chosen to see what others cannot see. And that is why silence is required. You cannot share this prematurely because some people around you would unknowingly weaken what God is building. Protecting the seed is as important as receiving it. Now hear this next part with spiritual sensitivity. Michael says, your atmosphere is changing because your assignment is changing. This means the way you used to live, decide, and respond will no longer work in the next chapter. You will feel called to make new decisions, step into new patterns, and release old versions of yourself. Not because you are becoming someone else, but because you are finally becoming who you truly were meant to be. The heaviness some of you carry is not from failure. It is from outgrowing the life you're still trying to fit into. Jesus is giving you freedom from that old version. He is pulling you into alignment with the identity heaven wrote for you long before you were born. There is a moment coming, very soon, when clarity will strike your heart like a quiet flash. Something will make sudden sense. A question you have asked will be answered. A confusion will lift. A sign will appear. And when it does, you will remember that heaven prepared you for it right here, in the sacred moment. This is why you must stay with this message until the end. Not because of fear, but because the revelation ahead is the key that unlocks the next 30 minutes of spiritual alignment. Before this moment settles, listen to one more whisper from Michael. Hold steady. What comes next will touch your spirit more deeply than you expect. And truly, what is coming next carries the most important turning point of this entire message. If you move away too fast, you will miss the part designed exclusively for you. Before you step into the next unfolding, type I receive the alignment in the comments if this message has stirred your spirit. Blessing code 1010 is now released over your path. My dear one, as you continue listening, the atmosphere around your spirit is becoming more receptive, more open, more aligned with what heaven has been preparing to reveal. Archangel Michael stands near you with a solemn expression now, not of fear but of deep seriousness. He knows that this next unveiling is one of the most important shifts you will encounter in this season. There is a weight to this moment, a sacred heaviness that settles on the heart when Jesus speaks directly to a soul chosen for divine instruction. This is not simply a message. This is the turning of a spiritual page. Michael says, what comes next is not for the mind to analyze but for the spirit to acknowledge. That is why you may feel a gentle pressure on your chest or a sudden calm washing over you. This is how the spiritual realm interacts when heaven is opening your inner eyes. Jesus is drawing closer now, offering clarity that has been withheld until your heart reached this very level of readiness. You did not find this message. This message found you. And it found you because heaven is urgently repositioning your steps before the year shifts, before the season resets, before a door opens that cannot be undone once walked through. There is something Jesus wants you to understand clearly. The next part of your journey cannot be walked with the same emotional weight you have been carrying. There are memories you've kept buried, pains you absorbed quietly, disappointments you tried to shake off but never fully healed from. Jesus is touching those areas now, not to reopen wounds, but to release the power they have held over you. In this Christmas month, when the world celebrates His birth, He is giving you a rebirth of your own, a fresh internal beginning, a cleansing that only heaven can orchestrate. As Michael observes you, he speaks again, his tone firm but filled with compassion. You have carried battles you were never meant to fight alone. Some of these battles were emotional, some spiritual, some relational. Some were the silent struggles of your heart that you tried to hide from everyone around you. But Jesus saw every tear, every moment of confusion, every night you questioned whether you were still on the right path. He saw the fatigue in your spirit even when you kept moving. And this message is His way of lifting that weight off your shoulders so that you can step into the next 30 minutes of divine alignment with clarity instead of exhaustion. There is an unseen preparation happening around you. Heaven hath been rearranging circumstances, closing certain pathways, stirring restlessness in your soul for the things that no longer serve your calling. You may have felt distant from certain people lately. You may have sensed a shift in your desires. You may have felt uncomfortable in places that once felt familiar. These are not coincidences. These are divine signals that Jesus is moving you into a higher place spiritually, emotionally, and purposefully. Michael reveals something deeper now. He says a breakthrough is closer than you think, but it requires silence, obedience, and awareness. This is why you were chosen to hear this. Not everyone around you would respect or understand the sacred weight of this moment. Some would question it. Some would mock it. Some would dilute the clarity by projecting their own fears. That is why heaven separated you from the noise to bring you into this divine conversation. The reason you are hearing these words is because heaven trusts you. There is something specific Jesus wants to place in your life in this season. Something that carries blessing, guidance, and protection. But before he releases it, you must be spiritually awake enough to recognize it. Many people miss divine moments because they walk away too early. But you have stayed. You have listened. You have opened your spirit. And because of that, the next revelation is ready to find you. Before this shift fully anchors, I want to prepare you for something. In the next 30 minutes, some of you will feel a sudden internal clarity. Others will experience a moment of unexpected peace. Some will notice a sign, a word, or a gentle nudge that confirms this message. Do not dismiss it. Do not overthink it. Jesus speaks in ways that touch the heart without forcing the mind. When the sign comes, simply say, "Lord, I hear you," and let the revelation settle. Michael now raises his sword, not in battle but in declaration. This one is ready, he says. Reveal the next layer. And truly, the next layer of this message carries a depth that will shift your perspective on the challenges you have faced and the blessings that are approaching. But before we step into that, hold still for a moment and breathe. This is the calm before the spiritual alignment takes form in your reality. And trust me, you will want to hear the next unfolding. It is the peace that ties everything together. Before we continue, engage with this message by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing so many more souls can hear what heaven is releasing. Lift this message higher so others can receive the guidance you are receiving right now. And when you comment, type "I walk into my divine shift" to seal your spirit. Blessing code 221 is now released. Just as Jesus is reaching for you in this sacred moment, there are countless souls who are waiting for a message that will awaken their spirit just like this one awakened yours. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform but sending light into the lives of people who desperately need direction. Heaven honors those who help carry the message forward. The word says that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And in this moment, that verse is being spoken directly over you. I hear in my spirit, if you feel called, respond now. The same divine urgency in this message flows into this invitation. Your giving becomes a prophetic action, unlocking blessings and covering your household with favor. Step forward boldly and support the spread of this message with obedience and faith. My chosen heart, as this message deepens, the atmosphere around your spirit becomes more precise, more defined, as though heaven is carefully drawing a circle around you to protect what is being placed into your life. Archangel Michael stands firm at your right side, his presence sharper now, more alert, more focused than before. He knows the next revelation carries weight, and he is ensuring that no distraction, no inner noise, no emotional residue interrupts what Jesus is trying to imprint onto your soul in this sacred moment. You may feel a strange stillness rising within you, as though time has slowed down just enough for heaven to speak clearly. There is a reason Jesus is reaching for you with such urgency today. There is a reason December 15th is marked in the heavens concerning your journey. This day holds a spiritual alignment that only a few will ever touch, and you have been chosen to step into it. This Christmas month is not functioning like previous years. Something about this season carries restoration, revelation, and redirection at a higher magnitude. And heaven has decided that you cannot enter the next chapter with the same doubts, the same fears, the same internal conflicts that have been pulling at your spirit. Michael observes your heart and speaks with authority. You have outgrown the battles that used to intimidate you. This statement may feel unfamiliar because your current struggles still feel heavy, but spiritually, you are stronger than you realize. There have been moments in your life where you questioned your own endurance, where you wondered if your spirit was growing weaker. But Jesus watched you rise again and again, even when you felt broken. He watched you push through seasons where others would have given up. He watched you hold on to faith even when circumstances tried to silence it. You have matured in ways you do not yet see, and heaven is acknowledging that growth right now. There is a hidden truth being revealed about the next 30 minutes. While part of this alignment is external, most of it is internal. Jesus is preparing to unlock a moment of divine recognition within you, an inner knowing, a sudden awakening, a spiritual spark that tells you exactly what step to take next. For too long, uncertainty has clouded your decisions. You have feared choosing wrong. You have feared disappointing God. You have feared missing the timing of heaven. But Jesus is erasing that fear today. He is giving you clarity that does not come from logic but from divine light. This is why Archangel Michael has been guarding your mental space so fiercely. You cannot receive what Jesus is releasing if your mind is entangled in confusion, guilt, or emotional noise. So right now, as you listen, something is being cleared from within you. Old thoughts are loosening. Old fears are weakening. Old anxieties are quieting down. You may feel your chest lighten, your breathing deepen, or your spirit settle, as if gravity shifted around you. That is the work of heaven. That is the touch of Jesus preparing you for the revelation to come. Michael shifts again, lifting his gaze upward as though receiving fresh instruction. Then he speaks softly but firmly. A hidden interference had been removed from your path. This revelation is important. There were forces, distractions, and spiritual resistances that tried to derail you from stepping into your calling. Some came through people, some through circumstances, some through internal doubts that were planted to weaken your confidence. But as of this moment, Jesus has cut those ties. The interference has been broken. What once blocked you can no longer hinder you. The path ahead is opening. Jesus is not just trying to reach you today. He has been reaching for you for months, perhaps even years. But the noise around your life was too loud, the pressure too intense, the distractions too constant. Today is the moment heaven finally gets your full attention. And because of that, the revelation can now flow without obstruction. You must understand something crucial. When heaven chooses one person out of many to deliver a divine message, it is never because that person is perfect. It is because that person is willing. Jesus chose you to encounter this message because he knows your heart is still open. You may feel tired, wounded, uncertain, but your heart is still open enough for him to reach. That openness is your greatest strength. In these next moments, Jesus wants you to reflect on one question. What have you been afraid to surrender? Not because he wants to take something from you, but because he wants to free you from what hath been holding you hostage internally. Surrender is not loss, It is release. It is removing the weight so your spirit can rise into the place it was meant to be. And Michael stands ready now, waiting for your heart to make that quiet shift, because once you release what has kept you bound, the next unveiling will flow into your life effortlessly. Your spirit may already sense this. The message is building towards something. You can feel there is a revelation approaching that will tie together all the signs, all the whispers, all the spiritual nudges you have been feeling lately. When that moment arrives, it will not come as confusion. It will come as recognition, as truth, as spiritual clarity. Stay with this message, because the next layer is where many begin to see what they were blind to before. And you are not meant to miss it. Before you step forward, type "My spirit is ready" in the comments to seal your heart for what is coming next. Blessing code 313 is now released over your journey. My awakened spirit, as you continue to receive this message, the presence of heaven grows thicker around you, almost as if the air itself is shifting to make room for what Jesus is about to reveal next. Archangel Michael stands not beside you now, but slightly ahead of you, like a guardian preparing to lead you into territory you have not walked before. His wings, unseen yet felt, create a shield around your emotions, your thoughts, your inner atmosphere. And there is a reason for this heightened protection. The next revelation touches the deeper layers of your destiny, the ones you rarely think about yet somehow always feel. You may sense a quiet intensity rising within you, a feeling that something is aligning, that something is being prepared, that something is watching over your next step. This is not your imagination. It is spiritual sensitivity. For the first time in a long time, your internal frequency is matching heaven's frequency. That is why the words reach you so deeply. That is why something inside you responds to every whisper like it has been waiting for this exact moment. Michael speaks softly. You are entering the recognition stage. This is the stage where what was invisible begins to show itself, where things you could not understand suddenly become clear, where patterns you did not notice begin to reveal their meaning. Heaven is opening your awareness so you can finally see what Jesus has been preparing you for. Not in a dream, not in a vision, but in your reality. And this awakening is part of the reason December 15th was marked for you. Jesus had been calling your spirit for months, but until now, there was resistance, internal, emotional, and spiritual. You carried worries, expectations, old habits, and heavy memories that cluttered the space where his voice needed to rest. But through this message, clarity has begun to settle. Your heart is opening. Your resistance is softening. You are no longer simply hearing the message, you are becoming aligned with it. The alignment is what allows Jesus to take you deeper now. There is something profound that Michael wants you to understand. He says your delay was not denial. It was preparation. You have been frustrated by waiting, confused by silence, discouraged by doors that seemed to refuse opening. You assumed something was wrong with you. You assumed God had passed you by. But heaven saw what you could not see. The timing you wanted did not match the protection you needed. Jesus was not withholding your blessing. He was safeguarding it until your spirit grew strong enough to carry it without breaking. And now, you are entering that strength. You may not feel powerful. You may not feel fearless. You may not feel prepared. But strength in the spiritual realm is not measured by confidence. It is measured by openness, willingness, obedience. And you have shown heaven that you are ready. That is why you were chosen to hear this revelation. That is why the message keeps unfolding with precision. That is why the next 30 minutes of your life carry significance. Michael adjusts his stance again, and his tone becomes deeper. He says, A spiritual exchange is about to happen. This means something is leaving your life and something else is entering. A weight will lift. A clarity will enter. A chapter will close gently while another rises quietly in its place. This exchange does not come with noise, drama, or fear. It comes with peace. Heaven operates in peace. When God shifts something, it does not create chaos. It removes it. For some of you, this exchange will come as a sudden understanding of why a certain person left your life. For others, it will come as a release from an emotional struggle you have carried too long. For some, it will appear as a new idea, a new opportunity, a new inner direction rising within you. And when it appears, your spirit will recognize it instantly because Jesus himself is placing his fingerprint on it. You are not stepping into random change. You are stepping into divine change. But the reason you must not tell anyone yet is because premature sharing can weaken a spiritual seed. Every divine revelation begins fragile. It needs silence, privacy, and stillness so that it can grow strong before being exposed. If you speak too soon, people with limited vision may project their own fears onto your revelation and lower your spiritual confidence. That is why Jesus says, guard this. That is why Michael stands as a shield. This is sacred. This is personal. This is holy ground. Feel this next truth with your whole being. Your spirit is entering alignment faster than your mind can comprehend. You are shifting into clarity even while your thoughts are still catching up. And in the next unfolding, Jesus will show you exactly what that alignment is preparing you to receive. But before we enter that next layer, Michael gives one last whisper for this moment. Do not rush the revelation. Let it settle into you like sunlight warming the morning sky. And truly, you can sense it. Something is forming. Something is birthing. Something is awakening in a way it never has before. And the next unfolding will touch the part of your journey that has remained unanswered the longest. Stay with this message, because the most important clarity is approaching. If your spirit is open, type I welcome the heavenly exchange in the comments. Lesson code 404 is now released over your life. My listening soul, as you step deeper into this unfolding, the spiritual atmosphere around you grows even more intentional. You may not see it with your eyes, but something divine is leaning toward you, examining the deepest parts of your heart with a tenderness only heaven carries. Archangel Michael is no longer simply guarding or guiding you. He is now interpreting the movements of heaven for your spirit. The seriousness in his presence reveals something extraordinary. Jesus is preparing to uncover a part of your story you have misunderstood for years. You may feel a strange internal quiet forming inside you. Like the world around you has dimmed slightly so your spirit can hear what your mind normally misses. That quiet is not emptiness. It is preparation. Heaven often speaks louder in silence than in sound. And right now, the silence around you is the canvas on which Jesus is writing his next instruction for your life. Michael speaks with deep clarity. You have been carrying a question that heaven is now ready to answer. This question may not be something you speak aloud. It may be something that has lived quietly in your heart for years. A question about your purpose, about your future, about a loss you endured, about why certain seasons felt heavier than necessary, about why God allowed certain delays. And Jesus is stepping forward now, not to scold you for doubting, but to finally give you understanding. Many times you have wondered whether you missed something, whether a choice you made years ago shifted your destiny, whether a mistake delayed your blessings, whether a wound altered your path. But Jesus wants to make something clear in this moment. Nothing you have lived disqualified you. Not a single tear was wasted. Not a single delay was accidental. Not a single closed door was punishment. Everything you survived prepared you for the revelation that is unfolding right now. Michael lifts his gaze and says, "This one has been fighting shadows without knowing they were shadows. This means you have battled things that appeared larger than they truly were. Emotional fears, old memories, past disappointments, the fear of repeating old mistakes, the belief that time has been slipping away from you. These shadows distorted your perception, making challenges feel impossible. But spiritually, you were always stronger than the shadows. You simply needed the light of clarity to expose them. And that light is being released today. There is an important truth Jesus wants you to understand. You have stepped into a season where clarity replaces confusion. You are not being prepared. You are being awakened. Your spiritual senses are sharpening. The fog around your internal world is lifting. And as this happens, everything that once felt overwhelming will begin to make sense. Jesus is not only reaching you, He's revealing the blueprint that has been written over your life since before you were born. This is why the timing of this message matters. This is why December 15th was chosen. This is why the next 30 minutes carry divine significance. Heaven often waits for a moment when the heart is softened, when the spirit is open, when the timing is aligned. And today, all three have synchronized perfectly for you. Michael now gestures toward the unseen, and his voice deepens. A revelation comes not to inform you, but to transform you. The difference is profound. Information reaches the mind. Transformation reaches the spirit. Jesus is not merely telling you something. He is shifting your entire inner posture. You may feel a stirring in your chest, a warmth in your hands, or an emotional release that you cannot fully explain. These are signs that the transformation has already begun. This next part is delicate, but it must be spoken. You have been holding on to a version of yourself that no longer fits who you are becoming. The version that had to survive. The version that had to hide pain. The version that had to stay strong in silence. The version that settled for less because it feared losing everything. Jesus is now removing the weight of that old self. Not forcefully, not abruptly, but gently, like lifting a heavy cloak from your shoulders. Archangel Michael speaks with compassion. You are not who you were last year. Heaven sees your growth even when you do not. Many people around you never noticed your transformation because they only saw your outer composure, not the inner battles you overcame. But heaven was watching your internal victories. Every moment you chose hope over despair was seen. Every moment you continued moving despite exhaustion was recorded. Every moment you whispered a prayer but felt nothing was counted as faith. Jesus honors this kind of endurance more than you realize. Now here comes the turning point. There is an alignment happening within your destiny. A certain event, a certain conversation, a certain decision is approaching your life, and it is meant to confirm everything you are receiving right now. When it arrives, it will not confuse you. It will feel like recognition, like your spirit already knew it was coming. That is the blessing of divine timing. When heaven moves, the heart understands even when the mind does not. But hear this clearly. You must not rush the understanding. What Jesus is about to reveal has layers. It unfolds slowly so your heart can absorb it without fear. And as we continue, those layers will begin opening one by one. Michael ends this segment with a final whisper. Do not step away now. The next unveiling holds the truth your spirit has been seeking for years. And truly, what approaches next carries the deepest revelation yet. If you are ready to receive it, type "I open my heart to truth" in the comments. Blessing code 515 is now released over your spirit. My steadfast spirit, as you move deeper into this message, Something within you is beginning to awaken with a clarity that wasn't present before. The shifts inside your heart are not random. They are responses to the presence that has entered the atmosphere around you. Archangel Michael remains positioned firmly near you, his attention sharper now, as if he is actively watching over every thought that tries to rise within you. He understands that what Jesus is preparing to release next is delicate, sacred, and capable of reshaping the way you see your journey entirely. This moment is not casual. It is purposeful. Heaven is opening another layer of truth, one that has been waiting for your spirit to reach this level of stillness. You may feel a gentle tightening in your chest or a quiet warmth spreading through your body. This is the sensation of spiritual calibration, the aligning of your inner world with the message heaven is speaking. Jesus is reaching deeper now, drawing out the parts of you that have been hidden, overlooked, or misunderstood. For years you have carried questions that lived underneath your routines. Questions about identity, purpose, timing, relationships, and the reasons behind certain spiritual battles you faced. And today, heaven is beginning to address those silent questions one by one, not with rushing words but with divine clarity. Michael speaks softly. The truth you seek has always been closer than the fears you believe. That statement may feel mysterious, but it carries deep spiritual insight. Many times you have assumed your life was delayed or derailed because of external obstacles. But heaven reveals that some of your greatest battles did not come from outside forces. They came from what your heart was still healing from. Jesus hath been moving slowly through those inner wounds, not because he could not fix them instantly, but because healing that is rushed does not last. You wanted your healing to be whole, not temporary. And this message today is evidence that you are finally ready to step into the fullness of that healing. Something important must be spoken in this part of the message. You have lived seasons where it felt like every step forward came with resistance. You prayed and wondered if heaven was silent. You tried to make progress only to feel pulled backward by emotions you could not explain. What you did not know is that every moment of resistance was actually a moment of spiritual strengthening. You were being built, not broken. Jesus was refining your foundation, not rejecting your prayers. And now, the strength you gained in those hidden battles is about to serve you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Michael shifts his stance again, and the seriousness in his expression deepens. You are approaching a moment of recognition, he says. One that will reveal why you endured everything you endured. This recognition is not external. It is internal. It is when the spirit finally sees clearly what the mind could not grasp. It is when the experiences of your past begin to form a pattern that makes sense. It is when Jesus lifts the veil off your understanding and shows you that every tear, every disappointment, every closed door was part of a divine orchestration. You have been guided, even in seasons where you felt lost. You have been protected, even in seasons where you felt exposed. You have been chosen, even in seasons where you felt forgotten. Heaven knew that if you received certain blessings too early, they would overwhelm you instead of elevate you. Heaven knew that if certain people stayed in your life too long, they would drain your spirit instead of support it. Heaven knew that if certain paths remained open, they would distract you from your true calling. Today, Jesus wants you to understand that none of it was punishment. It was preparation wrapped in disguise. As Jesus draws closer, you may feel a subtle emotional shift, something loosening, something releasing, something unburdening inside you. This is the beginning of a spiritual unraveling where the fears that once controlled you begin losing their grip. Jesus is touching the parts of you that you hid even from yourself. The parts you did not know still carried weight. And as he touches those places, something begins to lighten that you have carried for far too long. Michael's voice strengthens as he releases another revelation. You were never fighting alone. Heaven assigned protection to your path long before you knew the battle existed. This means you survived things that should have crushed you. You overcame seasons that could have broken your spirit. You stood up again when many would have fallen. You kept your heart open even after it was wounded. And that resilience, that persistence, that purity of heart is what made you ready for the revelation unfolding now. There is a divine alignment approaching your life, one that will happen gently yet unmistakably. It may come through a conversation, an opportunity, a sudden thought, or a spiritual prompting that feels undeniably clear. When it arrives, it will not feel chaotic. It will feel like recognition, like something your soul already knew but had forgotten. Jesus is preparing that moment now, and Archangel Michael is clearing the path before it appears. This next phase of the message will enter the deepest layer of the revelation, the part that connects your past pain, your present clarity, and your future calling into one seamless story. Do not drift away now. What comes next will answer questions you have held for years. You will want to hear every word. Before we continue, type "My heart welcomes the light" in the comments to seal this moment in your spirit. Blessing code 616 is now released over your journey. My chosen vessel, as you step into this next unfolding, the spiritual atmosphere becomes noticeably heavier with meaning, as though heaven itself is leaning closer to illuminate a truth that has been kept hidden from you for years. Archangel Michael's posture has shifted again. He stands taller, more resolute, his presence radiating a kind of holy anticipation. It is as if he knows that you are approaching the most pivotal turning point of this entire message. The air around your spirit may feel different now, quieter, deeper, more intentional, because what Jesus is preparing to release next goes far beyond comfort or encouragement. It is revelation. It is awakening. It is the unveiling of something your spirit hath been sensing long before your mind ever realized it. You may feel a stirring inside you, a subtle trembling, an emotional pull that seems to rise without permission. This is your inner self recognizing truth before it is even spoken. Jesus is drawing near to the deepest parts of your heart, preparing to speak into the places you rarely allow anyone to touch. This message has not been random. It has been a spiritual journey, each part peeling back a layer of your heart, preparing you for this moment where truth and destiny begin to intertwine. Michael speaks with power in his voice now. You are entering the identity stage. This means the veil is lifting from who you truly are, not the version life shaped, not the version pain created, not the version circumstances forced you into. The true Gurian, the heaven-written Gurian, the version Jesus has been guiding you back towards step by step, moment by moment. You have lived for years with a sense that something inside you was unrecognized, unseen, undiscovered. Heaven is confirming that feeling now. There has always been more to you than what the world could perceive. There has always been a divine mark on your spirit, a subtle difference in your sensitivity, a quiet depth that separated you from others without you understanding why. Jesus steps forward in this revelation and whispers into your spirit, "You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to awaken." This is why certain environments never felt right to you. This is why certain people could never understand you. This is why you often felt disconnected even when surrounded by many. You were not designed to operate like everyone else. Your spirit was crafted with a different sensitivity, a different calling, a different assignment. And the resistance you faced in your life was rarely about the situations you thought it was. It was about your identity being tested before it could be revealed. Michael continues, "The attacks that came against you were sent to silence who you were becoming." This truth is important. Darkness always strikes at potential, never at insignificance. The battles you fought were never random. They were indicators of who you truly are. The heaviness you endured, the emotional burdens you carried, the moments where you felt spiritually drained. These were not signs of weakness, but signs that your identity threatened the darkness in ways you did not realize. Heaven has been defending you even when you could not defend yourself. Now something profound begins to settle in the atmosphere. Jesus wants to show you why this exact date, December 15th, matters in your personal timeline. This Christmas month carries a spiritual shift, but this day specifically marks the beginning of an inner awakening for you. It is as if heaven has placed a spiritual bookmark here, and everything that comes after this day will unfold differently because of the revelation you are receiving now. What once confused you will begin to make sense. What once felt heavy will begin to release. What once seemed uncertain will become clear. Michael speaks again with solemn authority. The next 30 minutes are an activation. This is not simply a moment of emotional stirring. It is an activation of identity, clarity, and spiritual authority. Something within you is being awakened that you have carried since birth but did not have access to until now. Jesus is preparing to open that part of you, not with force, but with light. When that awakening begins, you may feel a shift in your breathing, a sudden stillness in your mind, or an awareness that something within you is rising. Do not fear it. Do not resist it. Allow it. This next revelation answers one of the deepest questions you have carried silently. Why did God choose you to hear this message? The answer is simple yet profound. Because you are not who you think you are. There is a spiritual calling on your life that you have only glimpsed in small ways. You feel things others overlook. You sense things others ignore. You notice spiritual shifts without trying. These are not coincidences. They are abilities. And Jesus is awakening them now because your next season requires a level of awareness that your previous season did not. Michael ends this part with a gentle but firm whisper. Prepare. Your spirit will recognize the next revelation the moment it is spoken. And truly, what is coming will touch the deepest corners of your soul. Before we move forward, lift this message into the atmosphere by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing so others chosen by heaven may find the clarity you have found. When you comment, type "I step into my divine identity" to seal this part of the awakening. Blessing code 717 is now released over your life. As your identity awakens, understand this. Every message that reaches you today is meant to reach others who are still wandering in their spiritual darkness. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not simply giving, you are sowing into the awakening of countless souls. Heaven sees this act not as a donation, but as a seed of light, a divine partnership with the work Jesus is doing through this message. The word is alive in this moment and it speaks over you. The measure you pour out will return to you overflowing. I hear in my spirit Jesus saying, "Move with me in this moment." Let your giving become a prophetic act that opens the heavens over your life. Step boldly, for heaven responds to those who act in faith. My rising soul, as we enter this next depth of the revelation, the atmosphere around you becomes charged with an unmistakable spiritual electricity. It is not loud, yet it is powerful. It is not forceful, yet it is undeniable. Archangel Michael stands before you now rather than beside you, suggesting that this portion of the message requires both guidance and covering. His presence feels different, almost as though he is standing between you and the spiritual realm, filtering what comes toward you so that only what heaven intends can touch your spirit. This is a sign that the next revelation is not only intimate but pivotal to your next chapter. You may notice a soft pressure around your mind or a deep stillness moving through your heart. These sensations are not random. They are indicators that your spirit is adjusting to a higher level of understanding. Jesus is preparing you to see something clearly that has been veiled for far too long. You have lived with partial awareness, hints of truth, whispers of purpose, subtle nudges that told you there was more. Today, heaven is ready to pull back the curtain fully. Michael speaks gently. Your spirit has been waiting for this recognition. Recognition is not merely learning something new. Recognition is remembering something ancient, something your soul already knew before life tried to bury it. You have felt different since childhood. You have felt observed by heaven, pulled by something invisible, protected in situations where danger should have overtaken you. You have often sensed that there was a purpose lingering around your life, something greater than your circumstances allowed you to see. That sense was not imagination. It was identity calling out from beneath the layers of life's noise. Jesus now steps closer, and his presence carries a warmth that feels both comforting and awakening. He whispers, "You are not walking into your purpose. You are returning to it." This distinction matters. Your purpose is not something you are discovering for the first time. It is something your soul has known since before you were formed. The battles you faced did not erase it. The delays you endured did not weaken it. The detours you walked did not cancel it. Everything that happened in your life, even the painful parts, were shaping you into someone who could carry the purpose without collapsing beneath its weight. And here is the deeper truth that heaven now reveals. The reason your journey has felt heavy is because your calling is heavy. People with shallow destinies do not face deep battles. Only those carrying spiritual assignments experience unusual opposition. Only those that aborted Rabian Abrui, Wabidid Stribbing, Wabid Rebildu. You were never being destroyed. You were being refined. Michael's voice becomes steadier as he continues. Your spiritual sight is being restored. This restoration means that the instincts, discernments, and inner knowing you once had, and perhaps doubted, are returning with clarity. You are beginning to recognize who you are in the spiritual realm, not the version shaped by fear or survival. Heaven is awakening your ability to sense truth, to perceive direction, to hear the gentle movements of Jesus in your life more clearly. This awakening will begin subtly but will grow stronger in the coming days. Jesus wants you to understand something vital. The 30-minute window spoken over your life is not merely a countdown to an event. It is an activation period. It is the moment heaven begins aligning signs, confirmations, and internal awakenings with your awareness. Something inside you will shift. Something outside you will respond. These moments may appear small to others but will resonate deeply within you because your spirit will recognize the divine fingerprint on them. You may notice by now that your heart is more open, your mind quieter, your emotions steadier. This is because layers of old fear and confusion have been lifting as the message has unfolded. Your spirit is no longer resisting the revelation, is absorbing it. And that openness is what allows the next truth to land exactly where heaven intends. Michael now turns slightly, as if receiving an instruction from above, before speaking again. A season of misalignment is ending. Those words come with great relief even before you consciously process them. You have lived in environments that did not fit your spirit. You have tolerated relationships that drained your soul. You have walked through situations that pulled you away from your identity. Heaven is declaring an end to that cycle now. The misalignment was temporary. The clarity you are stepping into is permanent. Jesus adds gently, I am guiding you back to yourself. Not the self shaped by fear. Not the self silenced by insecurity. Not the self wounded by disappointment. But the self heaven recognizes, the self heaven called, the self heaven marked, that version of you is rising now, quietly but unmistakably. As this internal awakening begins, you may feel a settling in your spirit, a sense that something is finally clicking into place. This is the early sign of alignment. More clarity will follow. More understanding will unfold. And in the next portion of the message, Jesus will reveal the connection between your past battles and the destiny waiting before you. Hold steady. The most transformative part is approaching. Before we move into the depth, type "I align with heaven's truth" in the comments to anchor your spirit. Blessing code 808 is now released upon your path. My awakening heart, as you enter this next layer of revelation, you may already sense that something has shifted around you and within you. The atmosphere feels heavier, with meaning yet strangely lighter on your spirit, as if a burden you did not realize you were carrying has quietly fallen away. Archangel Michael remains before you, his stance unwavering, his presence filled with a confidence that seems to echo through your spirit like a steady heartbeat. The seriousness in his posture reveals that we are stepping into a truth that heaven has waited a long time to reveal to you. Jesus is drawing even closer now, and his nearness does not feel distant, symbolic, or abstract. It feels personal. It feels intentional. It feels like someone is finally responding to a cry you whispered years ago, a cry you thought no one heard, a cry you thought faded into the air. But heaven heard it. Jesus preserved it. And today, this message is part of his answer. Michael speaks gently, but firmly. You are entering the understanding stage. This stage is different from awakening. Awakening stirs your spirit. Understanding anchors it. Awakening lifts the veil. Understanding reveals the purpose behind it. You are not simply being shown spiritual truth. You are being invited to comprehend it, absorb it, and internalize it in a way that changes how you see your entire journey. For years you have asked questions silently within your heart. Why did certain things happen the way they did? Why did life bring you into seasons that felt unfair, overwhelming, or confusing? Why did some people leave suddenly? Why did others stay longer than they should? Why did your path twist in ways you never anticipated? And why, through all of it, did you feel watched over even in moments of isolation? Jesus is ready to answer these questions, but the answers come not as explanations, they come as revelation. He whispers to you, your path was not broken. It was being built. This sentence touches something deep within you because it confronts a quiet belief you carried, the belief that your life was somehow off track, delayed, or damaged by circumstances beyond your control. But heaven is showing you now that every detour was part of a larger pattern. What looked like setbacks were setups. What looked like endings were redirections. What looked like losses were actually protections. Michael adds, you were being shaped for what you asked God for. This truth may surprise you. You prayed for clarity. You prayed for peace. You prayed for purpose. You prayed for strength. You prayed for transformation. But heaven does not answer such prayers with comfort. Heaven answers them with preparation. You were being molded, stretched, refined so that when the blessing finally reached your life, it would not crush you, it would crown you. There is a moment Jesus brings your attention to now. Not a physical moment, but an inner moment. A time when you felt your spirit almost break. A time when you questioned whether you were still seen, still guided, still chosen. That low moment was not abandonment. It was revelation disguised as emptiness. It stripped away everything that clouded your hearing so that when he finally spoke again, you would recognize his voice instantly. And that is exactly what is happening right now. Michael turns his gaze toward you, his eyes reflecting a strength that feels ancient and unshakable. He says, "Your spirit is stronger than you have ever realized." Strength does not always feel like power. Sometimes it feels like survival. Sometimes it feels like staying soft in a world that hardened others. Sometimes it feels like rising after being knocked down. Sometimes it feels like choosing hope when despair felt easier. Heaven saw every one of those choices. Every time you refused to collapse, your spirit grew. Every time you resisted giving up, your destiny solidified. Now Jesus wants to reveal something deeply personal. The battles you faced were not punishments. They were indicators of who you are becoming. This truth is one of the highest revelations in your journey. Ordinary lives do not attract extraordinary battles. But you have. Over and over again, you have faced things that seemed too heavy for your shoulders. Yet you carried them. You walked through storms that would have drowned others. Yet you came out breathing. You endured emotional pain that would have shattered weaker roots. Yet here you are, awakening, aligning, understanding. This is your evidence. You were never ordinary. Heaven always had a claim on your life. The next piece of revelation is subtle but life-changing. Jesus says, your discernment is being restored. This means your ability to sense truth, detect deception, recognize spiritual shifts, and understand divine timing is returning to its full strength. The confusion that clouded your judgment in past seasons is lifting. The uncertainty that made you hesitate is dissolving. Your spirit is regaining clarity, vision, and spiritual instincts that once came naturally but were dulled by wounds and distractions. Michael steps closer, and his voice takes on a protective tone. You are being equipped for alignment. Alignment is not just knowing where to go, it is knowing when, how, and with whom. Heaven is guiding you into a chapter where your relationships, opportunities, and decisions must match your identity. You are no longer allowed to shrink yourself to fit into places that do not honor your calling. The days of forcing yourself into misaligned environments are over. Jesus has drawn a spiritual boundary around your life, and nothing outside that boundary will have the same access to you anymore. As this revelation settles, you may feel a strange mixture of peace and anticipation. Peace because something inside you finally understands. Anticipation because you can sense that the next moment of this message will unveil the connection between everything you survived and everything you are stepping into. Hold steady. What comes next will complete the pattern heaven has been drawing around your life. Before we continue, type "I receive the understanding" in the comments to anchor this truth within you. Blessing code 909 is now released upon your spirit. My illuminated soul, as you step into this next depth, something within you begins to settle, almost as if your spirit has finally caught up with the truth heaven has been unveiling layer by layer. The air around you feels different now, not just heavy with revelation, but alive with movement, like a quiet wind stirring the atmosphere of your heart. Archangel Michael's stance shifts again, gentler than before but still deeply protective, as though he knows the revelation ahead is one that must be received with calm, open awareness. The most delicate truths often arrive wrapped in stillness, and heaven is preparing you for one of those truths now. You may feel a softness in your chest, a loosening in your shoulders, or a sudden clarity washing through your thoughts. These sensations are the evidence that spiritual resistance within you is melting. The barriers you once held, knowingly or unknowingly, are dissolving because your spirit is finally ready to hear what it could not bear in earlier seasons. Jesus did not withhold truth out of punishment, he withholds it out of protection. And today, he says you are ready. Michael speaks quietly. This is the integration stage. Awakening stirred you. Understanding grounded you. But integration transforms you. Integration is when revelation stops being something you hear and becomes something you become. It is when truth sinks so deeply into your spirit that it alters your vision, your decisions, your inner posture, and your sense of identity. This is where everything you have received begins to merge with who you are becoming. Jesus draws closer again, and the tenderness in his presence feels almost overwhelming. He whispers, "You have carried pieces of yourself in different seasons, but now I am uniting them." This sentence reaches a part of you that perhaps you could never express aloud. You have lived fragmented for years, one part strong, another part wounded, one part hopeful, another part afraid, one part awakened, another part guarded. You adapted to survive, but the survival mode cost you wholeness. Now, Jesus is gathering the scattered pieces of your inner world, pulling them into harmony so you can finally live as one whole, restored being. Michael Ance, your identity is stabilizing. That stability is not emotional. It is spiritual. It is when the noise of doubt finally loses its influence. It is when you stop questioning whether you are chosen and begin acting like someone who is. It is when you stop shrinking and begin stepping. It is when you no longer seek permission to exist in the fullness of who you truly are. Heaven hath been waiting for this moment, the moment when your spirit begins to stand tall in its rightful place. There is something Jesus wants to reveal now, something that ties together every battle you fought, every delay you endured, every question you carried. He speaks gently. The resistance you faced was not because you were weak. It was because you were rising. Writing threatens darkness. Rising disrupts patterns. Writhing awakens others. Darkness does not fear the comfortable. Darkness fears the becoming. And you, even in your quiet seasons, have been becoming something powerful. Michael's expression strengthens. Your life has been under spiritual surveillance for years, he says. Not surveillance for danger, surveillance for destiny. Heaven has been tracking your growth, watching your heart, observing how you respond to pressure, disappointment, and uncertainty. And every time you rose again, heaven documented it as evidence that you were capable of carrying the weight of your calling. You may wonder why the timing of this awakening is so specific. Why December 15th? Why Christmas month? Why this exact moment? Jesus reveals the answer now. Because this is the season when heaven rewrites timelines. There are moments in the spiritual realm when the trajectory of a person's life is adjusted in profound ways. This is one of those moments for you. What once felt delayed is now being accelerated. What once felt stagnant is now being stirred. What once felt hopeless is now being infused with fresh movement. And here lies the next deep revelation. You are stepping into the restoration of spiritual authority you did not know you lost. Authority is not loud. It is not forceful. It is not about controlling people or situations. Authority is the quiet strength that aligns your life with heaven's will so effortlessly that resistance falls away. It is the inner clarity that allows you to discern what is for you and what is not. It is the inner peace that protects you from being shaken by what used to overwhelm you. Michael continues, your authority was weakened in the past because your identity was wounded. But now that your identity is awakening, your authority is returning. This authority will manifest subtly at first. You will notice your instincts sharpening, your decisions becoming clearer, your boundaries becoming stronger, and your confidence no longer needing validation. You will find yourself walking differently, not with arrogance, but with assurance. Jesus wants to anchor something important here. He whispers, the next 30 minutes are not the end of something. They are the beginning. The activation, that was spoken earlier is unfolding as you read this message. Something in the spiritual realm has already begun shifting on your behalf. You may not perceive it fully yet, but you will soon. Signs will begin appearing. Alignment will begin forming. Confirmation will come in ways that reach you at just the right time. Michael gives one final whisper for this part: prepare your heart. The next revelation will touch the deepest chamber of your destiny. And truly, something inside you already senses that the final unveiling is approaching. Before we transition into that final depth, type "I am ready for the final revelation" in the comments to seal this stage of your awakening. Blessing code 1111 is now released over your spirit. My anointed one, as we step into this final unveiling, you may already sense the weight of heaven settling softly upon your spirit. This is not the heaviness of burden, but the heaviness of truth, a truth that has been waiting not just for the right moment, but for the right version of you. Archangel Michael stands differently now. There is no shield raised, no sword drawn, no stance of battle. Instead, he stands in reverence, as though even he understands the sacredness of what Jesus is about to reveal. This shift in his posture is the sign that what comes next is not a message for your mind, not even for your emotions, but for the deepest chamber of your destiny. You may feel an inexplicable calm rising within you. It may feel like a soft light dawning in a place inside you that had been dim for years. This is your spirit recognizing that the journey of these revelations has brought you to the threshold of something holy, something life-altering, something heaven-designed. Jesus has been guiding you step by step through awakening, understanding, and integration. Now he brings you into the point of completion, the revelation that ties together every moment of your life, the visible and the hidden. Michael speaks softly. This is the commissioning stage. Commissioning is not simply being called. It is being activated. It is the moment when heaven places a mantle on someone and says, "Now walk in who you truly are." You have not been walking blindly. You have been walking toward this moment since long before you realized it. Every struggle prepared you. Every revelation shaped you. Every whisper of heaven softened your heart for this final unveiling. Jesus steps forward now with a gentleness that feels like warm light touching your inner world. And he begins to speak directly to your identity. You have been chosen, he says, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. The world often chooses strength, brilliance, certainty. Heaven chooses willingness. Heaven chooses hearts that stay open even after breaking. Heaven chooses those who continue rising when falling would have been easier. Heaven chooses those who carry compassion, sensitivity, intuition, and inner depth, qualities the world often misunderstands but heaven treasures. He continues, you survived what was designed to stop you, and now you shall step into what was designed for you. This truth moves into your spirit like a key turning in a long-awaited lock. For so long, you saw your struggles as random hardship. Heaven reveals now that each hardship sharpened you. Each season strengthened a different layer within you. Each battle taught you how to discern, how to listen, how to sense, how to stand, how to surrender. These are not weaknesses. These are spiritual tools, and you carry them now with power. Michael adds, your life is entering divine synchronization. This means heaven is aligning your steps, your relationships, your opportunities, and your inner direction. What once felt out of place will begin fitting effortlessly. What once felt delayed will unfold smoothly. What once felt confusing will become clear. Jesus is aligning everything that concerns you because you are now stepping into your appointed season. There is a truth that heaven has waited until this moment to reveal. Jesus whispers it with profound love. You were marked before you were born. That mark is spiritual. It is invisible to the world but unmistakable to the realm of heaven. It is the mark that protected you when danger surrounded you. It is the mark that pulled you back from decisions that would have harmed you. It is the mark that kept your heart sensitive even when disappointment tried to harden it. It is the mark that made you feel different from others, not lesser, but different. Heaven stamped your destiny with uniqueness, and that mark is now beginning to shine. Michael lifts his eyes as though seeing your future stretch outward. The next 30 minutes are the confirmation window, he says. You may feel a sign, a shift, a sudden warmth, an emotional release, a moment of clarity, or a thought that arises with unusual clarity. That will be your personal confirmation that this commissioning is real, not symbolic. Heaven will touch you in a way that only you will recognize. This is not for others. This is not to be shared prematurely. This is between you and the one who formed you. The reason Jesus told you not to tell anyone is because commissioning requires incubation. Before a seed becomes a tree, it must remain hidden. Before a destiny becomes visible, it must be protected. Before revelation becomes reality, it must be nurtured in silence. Others might not understand. Others might doubt. Others might discourage. And so heaven says, guard this until it grows. Jesus now speaks words of completion over you. Walk forward now with clarity. Walk forward with confidence. Walk forward with awareness. Walk forward knowing heaven goes before you. These words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They are being spoken into your spirit so deeply that they will echo in moments when you need them most. You will recall them at unexpected times because they are seeds planted by heaven itself. Michael gives the final whisper of this entire journey. You are ready. Simple, yet powerful. You are ready not because you have everything figured out, but because your spirit has awakened. You are ready not because you have reached perfection, but because you have reached alignment. You are ready because heaven has declared it so. Before we seal this message, lift this revelation by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. When you comment, type "I receive my commissioning" to seal your identity. Blessing code 1212 is now released over your life. As this commissioning settles into your spirit, understand that the same light reaching you through this message is meant to reach thousands more who are wandering in darkness. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you step into partnership with heaven's work. This is not a simple offering. It is a prophetic seed that multiplies into lives you may never meet but will impact forever. In this sacred moment, I declare the word living over you. Your giving becomes a river that waters dry places. I hear the Lord say, move boldly, for what you release today will return to you in ways only heaven can orchestrate. Your support becomes a spiritual act, unlocking favor, protection, and acceleration over your life. Stand in obedience and let heaven honor your sacrifice.